My parents' approach to raising me was laissez-faire in the best sense of the word. They gave me basic guidance, but when it came to the morality of my actions, they expected me to judge on my own. I was often told that I had to take responsibility for my actions, particularly by my mother. My mother was quite strict about that. As a child, she studied karate, never missed her club activities in school, and even won awards at national competitions. She was a strong woman, who thought it natural to discipline a child who misbehaved, and she was very good at catching me when I tried to run away. However, her punishment was never spiteful. Once done, she'd quickly say, "Let's have a snack now." Therefore, I never held a grudge against her. In fact, when I was scolded, I thought it was natural because I was the one at fault. In addition to this, both my father and mother thoroughly disciplined me in the importance of greetings. From a young age, they drilled into me the importance of saying, "Good morning, hello, good evening, goodbye, thank you, and I'm sorry." However, there were times in middle school and high school, my rebellious phase, when I felt embarrassed to give such formal greetings. This would activate my mother's punishment mode, and she'd catch me and applying a chokehold, even as I grew taller. Even though I was over 5 feet 7 inches, my mother, who was barely 5 feet 0 inches, had no trouble putting that on me, which was truly admirable. My father, who did wrestling, would chuckle and lightly tap my head, saying, "I lost too. Just give up." Thanks to my mother's discipline, I have come to believe that it is only natural to greet people, and as a result, I have received a better reception from the neighborhood ladies. It seemed typical for high school boys to say informal greetings like "yo" or "sap." However, by properly saying "good morning" and "hello," I seem to have caught the hearts of the neighborhood ladies. Although my classmates would tease me for being a goody two-shoes, I realized the effects of proper greetings shouldn't be underestimated. My mother was a strong, energetic woman. However, around the time I was preparing for college entrance exams in my final year of high school, she began complaining of a sore throat. At first, we thought it was just a cold, but as she started to have difficulty breathing, both my father and I urged her to go to the hospital. My mother, who grumbled about going to the hospital for a cold, eventually agreed when swallowing food became increasingly difficult. The diagnosis was throat cancer. My mother, father, and I were speechless, shocked out of the blue. According to the doctor, the cancer was stage 3 but could be more problematic if it had spread to the lymph nodes, so a thorough examination was needed. Following further tests, it was confirmed that the cancer had spread to her lymph nodes and there was a possibility of it reaching other organs as well. I asked my mother what she planned to do. Her answer was straightforward.
"I don't want to get weaker by having the cancer removed repeatedly only for it to return. I'd rather live normally, receive hospice care, and live as I wish until the end."
It was a response that was very much like her. The doctor also said that it was difficult to treat all the organs potentially affected. Doctor agreed with her wish for chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and palliative care. My mother fought hard and lived until I graduated from college. By then, her body was riddled with cancer. She was admitted to the hospital and passed away after receiving palliative care. Thankfully, I made it in time to see her in her final moments. Though her voice was barely audible due to throat cancer, she managed to squeeze out a few words.
"Look, say something when you see me off."
"What do you want me to say, Mom?"
I replied. Then, she answered.
"Isn't it obvious? It's goodbye."
At that moment, I said to my mom with words that weren't part of the farewells we had been taught.
"See you around, Mom."
Mom's eyes widened, and she smiled faintly. Then she said,
"Yes, goodbye." See you on the other side.
As my dad rushed in at the last minute, Mom greeted him appropriately and added, "Thank you," before taking her last breath. Dad and I stood still for a long time, in front of Mom's lifeless body, as if we were frozen in place. But, as humans, we have to keep living. We can't stand still. Dad and I continued our life as two men. Fortunately, my athletic dad had experience in cooking from his training camp days, and had been taught to clean up during club activities. Thanks to Mom's laissez-faire approach, meaning, who would clean up my room, I was also able to handle the cleaning to some extent. I also used to prepare simple meals for myself when I couldn't wait till dinner due to hunger. Combining our efforts, we somehow moved forward with a life without Mom. I was already employed when Mom passed away. Though it wasn't a major company, it was a firm with a reliable and sincere corporate culture. They had their own building, boasting stable business performance. I also loved the company's philosophy.
Be a company for the sake of customers and employees.
The prominence of this statement was what I liked most. I was truly happy to be accepted. There was no deception in the philosophy and no overtime or talk of working hard for the company. The employees worked hard for the customers, and the company could sustain itself by doing so, which was the most felt corporate culture. In my third year, the company introduced flexible working hours. As long as I worked a set number of hours, I could leave early if I arrived early. For me, it also helped to avoid rush hours by commuting during off-peak hours, so I decided to switch to early morning attendance. The first early morning commute was on a Monday after a long weekend, a refreshing day indeed. The road was naturally empty, and there were fewer people downtown. I bought a coffee from a convenience store and reached the front of the office. There were people cleaning the road in front of the entrance and the entrance door. An elderly man and woman I hadn't seen at regular times. Thanks to their early morning cleaning, the entrance would be cleaned by office hours. They were dressed in matching work clothes. Perhaps dispatched from a senior center or part-time employees hired by the company. Since the front entrance was still closed, I was about to go around to the back entrance. And when I passed by these people, out of habit, "Good morning, how are you today?" I greeted. The two of them paused their work, looked at me with a bit of surprise, and then returned my greeting with a smile, "Good morning." There's something pleasant about greeting people first thing in the morning. As I entered the office, I remembered my mother who taught me the habit of greeting others. From that day on, it became my routine to greet these two people every day. Sometimes I would add a remark like, "It's hot today," or, "Be careful not to get a heat stroke." The two of them would also smile back and say, "Good luck with your work," or, "I hope you have a good day." As the temperature rose with the onset of summer, more people started to come to work early in the morning. Even my colleagues in sales were switching to early morning shifts. However, I didn't see anyone else greeting the janitors in the morning. Rather, it seemed like they didn't even see these people. Like the greenery next to the entrance of the company, they seemed to be seen as things that were naturally there. Just as I wondered about this, it seemed that they were wondering about me as well. One day, someone asked me, "Why do you greet the janitors?" So I answered,
Well, they're the ones who clean up and make the place tidy, aren't they? They're our colleagues too, so it's only natural to greet them.
However, my peers said, "But they're janitors, there's no need to greet them." The others agreed with them. I understood that this was the majority opinion in society, but I continued to greet them as usual, deciding that this was just the way I was. I'm not particularly interested in promotions at work, but perhaps due to the genes I inherited from my competitive, sports-loving parents, I hate to lose. In my fourth year with the company, a personnel reshuffling resulted in a vacant position for a sales team leader in my department. For us, 4 years into our careers, this was a big opportunity. Everyone was striving to achieve good results in sales to raise their internal evaluations. Of course, none of them are ordinary workers. They were serious and hardworking salespeople who had been striving all along. It wouldn't be surprising for any of them to become the team leader. When I discussed this at home, my dad chuckled, "Well, everyone wants to get ahead, don't they?" When he asked me what I thought, I replied, "I'd hate for someone to get promoted before me, but if it's someone who can do better work and get better results, I guess I can't help it." My dad laughed and said, "That's the spirit of sportsmanship, just like your mom and I," patting my shoulder so hard it hurt. Then the personnel announcements were made. Surprisingly, I was the one who received the appointment as team leader. Although I was happy to receive the appointment from my boss, I must have looked quite taken aback. My boss laughed and asked, "Why aren't you happy?" To which I honestly answered, "I just didn't think it would be me." Everyone else laughed at this, congratulating me amidst their laughter. While I was indeed happy, I also felt as though I had been bewitched. Of course, I shared this news with my dad and my late mom at the family altar. And then, I reported to those two who have been cleaning from early morning as well. Both the man and woman were delighted for me, saying, "That's great." That year marked the 30th anniversary of the company's establishment, and a commemorative party was held with just the employees and main clients. Nearly 100 people, from rank-and-file employees to executives, gathered along with about 20 clients. Because our own building was too small to accommodate everyone, we rented a hall at a nearby hotel. Being a junior manager, I was made part of the organizing committee. We assigned tasks such as sending invitations and negotiating with the hotel to our regular employees who were allowed to assist, and prepared everything down to the last detail. I was also checking the reception desk on the day of the party, so I entered the venue just in time for the start of the party. The ceremony started on time, beginning with the president's speech. Since I was one of the last ones to enter, I was quite far from the stage and couldn't clearly see the faces of the president and the executives. But I was relieved to see the ceremony progressing smoothly. As the toast ended, the president suddenly started to talk about something that wasn't in the plan.
Taking advantage of this occasion, I'd like to introduce the employees who have recently been promoted to management positions in this personnel change. I'm grateful to be able to present them to all of you who have kindly supported them.
I was somewhat flustered. I wondered if I would be called, if my appearance was presentable, if my tie was straight, having been running around. As my name was called, I stepped forward. This time, 4 of us were promoted to management positions, including me at the bottom rung. In order from the person who was promoted to director, each of us was called by the CEO to receive congratulations and introduced to everyone. Feeling the pressure, I nonetheless managed to approach the CEO. And I almost let out an excited shout.
I'm introducing our promising new section chief. Always greets everyone without fail, polite in all interactions, and excellent in communication. I kindly ask everyone to get acquainted with our promising section chief.
That's how the CEO introduced me to the crowd, extending his hand.
It truly made my wife and I happy that you greeted us properly every morning. I want young people like you, who can communicate effectively, to become our company's core moving forward.
All I could do was nod in response. The man who shook my hand was the older gentleman who cleaned the company's entrance and the street in front of it first thing in the morning. I stepped down from the stage, feeling as if I was in a dream. Those people were the company's CEO and his wife. I was incredulous. Then someone approached me. I recognized the face. It was the executive director.
Judging by that look on your face, you also got tricked by the CEO, didn't you?
I looked up at the executive director.
The CEO and his wife, they never forget the early days of the company. They don't miss a day of cleaning, wanting the employees and the company to start each day on a positive note.
Almost no one notices the CEO and his wife's routine, and hardly anyone greets them. When asked if I thought they were amazing people, I answered affirmatively. Despite being in a position of power, they never forget their beginnings. It's something not many can do. I'm afraid, but did the CEO also trick you? I dared to ask. The executive director laughed and responded, saying he was shocked when he found out the janitor he casually greeted was the CEO.
Ordinary employees rarely get a chance to see the CEO, and he even wears that janitor's cap, you know.
The executive director said with a bitter smile. Greetings seem easy to do, but we often forget to say them, or we selectively greet some people and ignore others. But I realized that such small gestures could pave the way for your future. And on my way home that day, I felt like I heard my mother's laughter.
Look, aren't you glad I instilled the habit of greeting others? Show some gratitude, show more gratitude.
Yes, thanks, Mom. I murmured, looking up at the sky.